Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, the wonderful Misty Morrison, and this is our next episode of Petty Please. Let's jump right on into the stories. Alright, story number 1 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. A break deserves a break. Many years ago, my class went to a theme park. There was a gift shop, and I spent most of my money buying my mom a porcelain cat in a basket. The cat was stuck to the basket. It was real cute. About an hour before we were due to leave, I was in the arcade playing an analog submarine game. Did I say many years? This kid was running full speed up and down the arcade and jumping off a set of steps just behind me and to my right. He kept running past, and then in one of his passes, he kicked the box that my mom's cat was in. I opened the box and saw the cat was out of the basket. I saw red. It was probably not done on purpose looking back. He probably slipped and kicked it. I didn't care. With the most perfect timing I've ever managed, I stuck my leg out backwards as he ran past toward the steps and felt his leg hit mine like a perfect golf shot. Then I heard a crack and the kid started screaming. I leaned down and lifted my box and walked slowly out. He didn't know it was me. Later on the bus, 2 teachers addressed all of us. The kid had broken something in his leg and had to go to the hospital. They absolutely glared at every single one of us, threatening us that no one would go home until they found the culprit. It was hot and heavy for about 15 minutes, but I didn't crack. That was when I discovered I had a talent for lying convincingly in extreme situations. I didn't mean for the kid to break anything. I felt bad about it afterwards. It's 50 years later, and I see the cat on my mom's kitchen window every time I visit. I remember the screaming. Oh, I love that for you. I do. I think intention matters, and you did not intend for the kid to get seriously injured. You just wanted to teach him a lesson. And yeah, truly, it probably wasn't intentional. I'm sure at that age, in the moment, it felt like it at the time, because you spent every piece of money you had to buy your mom this cat. And clearly the cat was important to your mom because she still has it. That's kind of a sweet story. Yes, it was very petty, and probably had you been trying to hurt the kid, you'd have missed completely. So yeah, that is our first. We're off to a strong start today. All right. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Optics store refused support for reading glasses. So this happened a few years ago, back when I still dated a girl that lived not near me. She wears reading glasses. One day, we went with her mother to the optics store, a well-known Portuguese brand of stores with shops all over the country. She went in there to get a new glasses frame. I think that's the term anyway. English is not my native language. When she left, she saw some markings. Those were markings left by the machine holding the lenses during the process. It was a harsh strike, like a small cut in the lens itself, not something we could wipe over with a cloth and liquid. She complained to the store, but they only told her they couldn't do anything regarding it. It was normal for the process. I was not with her at the time, but when she told me that, I was quite mad actually. She sent me photos of the lens, and it was just plain ridiculous. I don't remember if she had the same lens and was only replacing the frame, or if she got completely new glasses, but either way, the lens should not be delivered with that defect. It would affect her sight. So I went to my computer, searched the optics store online, didn't find anything specific to that store, but I found the main website. I thought, this should help anyway. I wrote a ravaging email explaining the situation. Again, this was too long ago, and I don't remember if I sent them photos or anything more. But what I know was, around 1 hour or less after I sent the email, I got my girlfriend's mother calling me and asking what have I done. I was kind of speechless because I was just about to tell her about that email. Well, I tried to wait a bit and see if it helped or not before I could jump to any conclusion. The thing is, after my email, they called my girlfriend asking her to go back to the store so they could replace the lenses for free. I don't remember to specify the store's location, but they somehow managed to find the store and the client in record time. I was like, oopsie, did I do that? Sorry, not sorry. That was no way to treat a client. Very, very well done. This is like a perfect petty revenge story because nobody was hurt. You found a way to get through the company where your girlfriend and her mom weren't able to. You were not willing to settle for something so outrageous as brand new damaged glasses, as though that would be an acceptable defect. You found something to do about it, and you did, and it worked, and high five. I love that. Okay. Story number 3 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. I didn't back down on clown trying to force me to reverse. I was driving down my street, a narrow little street, and was just outside my house ready to turn in, when the following thing happened. By the way, I assume most of you have a driving rule for narrow streets, that if you are going to overtake/pass parked cars on your side, you stop and wait for oncoming traffic to pass before you go on. Well, this driver decided to ignore the rules, and she definitely saw me before swerving over to my side of the road and drove towards me as fast in her SUV. Thing is, as I said, I was actually just about to turn into my driveway. I was home, basically. But she drove up so near to me I couldn't turn in. So I left the car, locked it, and strolled over to my house. Up the driveway, opened my front door, and just stood there looking at her blankly. She got the message and even waved a sort of embarrassed apology. Not Canada here, LOL, but UK. All sorted in about a minute or two. Edit, she reversed back and did that wave and grin thing. I was a bit disappointed in myself I didn't grab a beer and a deck chair to elongate the situation. But it was a public road, so I thought I'd make my point and then get the road clear. No other commuters were inconvenienced in this incident. No queues, etc. I mean, that's brilliant. Yeah, I feel like that is very standard behavior. If the parked cars kind of invading the roadway are on your side, you wait, make sure the other side is clear because you're going to have to invade the other side to get through. That seems very basic to me, and yeah, I love what you did. It would have been great had you been able to drag it out longer and still not inconvenience anybody else, but this is good. She hopefully learned a valuable lesson that day. All right, story number 4 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. If you could do it to me, I can do it to you. When I was 20, I lived with my mom and stepdad in his mom's house. I paid $400 in rent and paid for my own groceries and covered one bill. This was to set me up for being an adult. I shared a room with my sister, 18. Later, I shared a room with her fiancé husband. She also paid $400. The room was small, 11 by 11 foot with a small closet. My sister and I were both in college and worked full time. My stepdad would get mad because we would be on the computer until early morning hours doing homework or on social media. He got a device and it turned off the internet, which we paid for, at 10 via remote. If he got a wild hair, he would keep it off. Now he lives with me and my mom because he lost his house with get-rich-quick schemes. He started staying up late watching TV. I pay for all the streaming that he watches, and I pay for the internet. He pays for no bills other than rent. Well, I put a limit on the internet, so now he has to go to sleep at 12 and can't watch anything until after 6 a.m. He's upset his TV no longer works past 12 a.m. He doesn't know I put a limit on it, and his TV solely and the rest of the devices in the apartment work perfectly fine. I 1000% am here for this. I'm so glad you got your chance for this revenge, because to think you are 20 years old, you are a full-grown adult, paying rent plus another bill, and you weren't inconveniencing anybody by being up late using the internet, especially when you were doing homework. Like, that was a necessity. So the idea that he was just annoyed and decided he would turn it off to be hateful or spiteful, whatever, that's wild. I hate that your mom let him do that. But you got your revenge, and it's working. And it's really funny to me that he hasn't even realized what's going on. But that makes it better. Good job, OP. All right, story number 5 is coming to us from r/pro revenge. Oh, I played the long game. I am by no means an expert or pro at revenge, but I am a patient person. I disclosed this to a friend and they directed me here. Throwaway for obvious reasons. It's a long read, but the setup and backstory are important. 7 years ago, I was lucky enough to be able to buy my own place. I had saved for 10 years, worked my ass off, and I was so happy to be able to have a place to call my own. Now, being a single person on the mortgage meant I had to make compromises. One such compromise was buying a property on a shared block, a lot cheaper. Where I'm from, this usually means it's on a strata title. For some, that's a bonus as it means there's a communal fund for repairs. Typically, insurance is cheaper as it's collective, and other things like maintenance being taken care of. Strata titles also come with a lot of bylaws and restrictions on what you can and can't do. I'm a pretty private and introverted person, so having to deal with people and have limits on how I live was a no-no. I took my time, found the perfect property. Shared block, but freehold title. Only thing that was I needed to pay public liability insurance for the shared walkway on the property, split equally between owners. The real estate agent is local to my area. There's also about 3 degrees of separation between us. He has friends who are friends with my friends type of thing. Didn't know him, but knew of him, so that sort of felt good too. About 5 months after I move in, I get a knock on the door from the landlord of the property next to me to discuss insurance. Not a problem. I ask for a copy of the policy so I have a record. It gets sent through, and lo and behold, it's for strata insurance. I was incredibly confused, and after much back and forth, the property isn't a freehold title, but a strata title. I called my lawyer who conveyed the title, etc. He was dumbfounded, but over it all, did the right thing and made things as right as they could. I arranged for a meeting with the real estate agent. I brought emails and printouts of the ads they had all saying it was freehold, emails between the real estate agent and my lawyer discussing its freehold status. Despite it being in absolute black and white, he refused to accept any fault or offer anything to make things right. I don't begrudge that. He's looking out for himself. I get that. However, I wouldn't forget it. I did enter into mediation with the real estate agent, and all I asked for was when the time came for me to sell, they'd do it or cover the costs. I thought this was reasonable, but they flat out refused to offer me $1,000 to go away, which I refused. I had the option to pursue them legally and was advised by the mediator to do so, but ultimately I decided against it for a few reasons, the main one being my health at the time. So I planned and plotted and I schemed and I connived as to how to get back at this son of a bitch, and I settled on this. I found his personal Facebook page, which wasn't set to private, saw some photos of a boys on tour trip he went on a few weeks prior, so about 5 to 6 months after I bought the property. I also found his address through a business registration search. On the anniversary of the sale, for 6 years straight, I sent them flowers with a note. Dear real estate agent, remembering you on this our special day. She has your eyes. Love, L. They varied ever so slightly over the years, but always had on this our special day and some weird reference to a love child and a desire to reconnect. I also from time to time arranged for postcards and letters to be sent from another country. The one he was on tour in always signed Love, L. I learned about 3 weeks ago that this guy had recently divorced, lost his home, and is no longer working as a real estate agent. His wife had found out he cheated on her. The story I was told, through said friends of friends, went along the lines of, he would get weird gifts and flowers every year, same day every year. She, his wife, finally put 2 and 2 together and realized what the date was, and he admitted to cheating on her. Now, I didn't mean for this. But it turns out a year before I bought my house, he had gone on holiday, came back with an STD, gave it to his wife, but somehow convinced her that it wasn't him. As such, our special day turned out to be right around the time he'd have been balls deep sans condom in someone who wasn't his wife only 1 year earlier. He's apparently lost his house, half his retirement savings, and also his business. I do feel a little bit guilty about all of it sometimes, but then I'm reminded that he's a scumbag and that karma, like me, is a patient, spiteful, and vengeful bitch. I love it. You really truly played the long game, and karma really was on your side because there is no way possible that you could have known what else that particular day meant to him and his family. Yeah, karma was on your side. Okay. We are going to have one more. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/pro-revenge. Tricking my slacker coworker into sabotaging himself. I work in an office with a guy I'll call Seth. Seth is that coworker everyone knows. Lazy, always passing his work on to someone else, and somehow always getting away with it. He'll sit around on his phone or go to the bathroom every 10 minutes. He's the kind of guy who will show up late, make some lame excuses about traffic, and then disappear for lunch for 2 hours. For the past 6 months, Seth's favorite target has been me. He'll send emails asking if I can help out with a project. But what he really means is do all the work while I take the credit. I complained to my boss a couple of times, but somehow Seth always managed to weasel his way out of trouble. The final straw came when he passed off a major report that was due to a client in 2 days, dumping it on me last minute. One day, I casually asked him if he was good with Excel, and he admitted he didn't know much about it. Perfect. The next time Seth tried to dump a bunch of spreadsheets on me to organize for his next report, I agreed. But this time, I embedded a series of hidden formulas into the documents. These formulas didn't do anything important, just enough to mess with the numbers if someone didn't know how to check for hidden cells. It took me a little time, but I was careful not to make it too obvious. The kicker? Every time Seth tried to copy and paste the data into his report, it would scramble everything just enough to be completely useless. On the day the report was due, Seth slacked off like usual, assuming I had handled it like always. When the client called, furious because the report was filled with nonsense numbers, Seth panicked. He rushed to fix it, but every time he tried to fix one part of the report, something else would break. He came to me frantic and asked for help. I acted confused and said, "Oh, I don't know what happened. Maybe it's a glitch?" I gave him some vague advice and watched as he spent the entire day trying to salvage his mess. Our boss found out, and for once, Seth couldn't talk his way out of it. He got lambasted for screwing up such an important project and was put on temporary leave without pay. I guess he'll be doing his own work from now on. Very nicely done. Yeah, everyone at one point or another has definitely had that annoying coworker, and I think that sometimes is the only way to teach them. Like, once they know you are capable of doing it, they're always going to ask you to do it. But once you mess it up, you are no longer a viable option for them. So, yeah. All right, that is what we have for today. 6 stories for our second episode of Petty Please. Be sure to share the episode with your friends if you liked it. Leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform, or if you are watching on YouTube, leave a comment, subscribe, and like the video. And I will see you next week on another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.